Alright, culture hashers, today we're going to talk about the new album from Denzel Curry, Zoo. This is the fourth studio album from the Miami rapper and massive Dragon Ball Z fan, Denzel Curry. Denzel Curry, his birth name. We talked about all this stuff about 9 months ago when he released Taboo. Taboo was one of my favourite rap albums from last year. It was dark, introspective, it had a 3-act structure, it was very well thought out. And Denzel Curry really addressed some issues like depression, and we got a real exploration of his mental health. So with this album coming less than a year after his previous one, I was expecting it to be, you know, like a few throwaway tracks, nothing too compelling, especially considering that Zoo is only 12 tracks long and runs to just under half an hour. As expected, Zoo doesn't match the emotional depth of Taboo, but this is a very different project from the previous one. Denzel Curry seems a lot happier as a person at this point, and the main inspiration for Zoo is his hometown of Carol City, which is just outside of Miami, Florida. Zoo is full of shout-outs and audio homages to the legends of Miami hip-hop. Starting with the cover itself, where Denzel Curry's standing next to one of those lowrider cars in a very throwback style shirt. He also talks about how he grew up on Miami rappers like Trick Daddy and Trina. And we've also got the track Blackland 66.6, a shout out to the classic Space Ghost Perp mixtape. Space Ghost Perp also served as Denzel Curry's mentor, and he came up in the rap game as part of Perp's Raider Clan crew. Denzel Curry's living in Los Angeles, and the album serves as a love letter to Denzel Curry's hometown and just the influences that he experienced growing up there. Denzel also freestyles the majority of the lyrics on this album, which is all the more impressive considering some of the dense wordplay that's going on here and the way that he addresses certain themes throughout the verses. It doesn't feel like someone just spitting off the dome. I thought these verses were written, to be honest. Usually when you hear people just freestyle, they just sort of just say stuff and then, like, I don't know, like think about some other words like eggs and breakfast. But these Denzel Curry bars, really good, really impressive that he just came up with these on the spot. In the interviews preceding this album, he's saying that he wanted to go from like mind to mic without having like his notepad as the middleman, so he could just really formulate his thoughts and just put them straight into the verses. Definitely give some props to Denzel Curry for the skillful wordplay he just came up with off the dome. Zoo is inspired by the classic Miami sound. The beat for the track Birds just absolutely slaps. It's got massive bass that just hits you in the face. And it also features Rick Ross, another Carol City native and legend of Miami hip-hop. I've never been a big Rick Ross guy. I never really bought into his whole, I'm a drug kingpin, but I actually used to work as a prison officer. So I can never really see the like connection between some of these things he was saying and his actual life. But he's got a pretty decent verse on Birds, and he raps a little bit faster than usual, so my brain isn't like finishing off his punchlines before he says them. But Denzel Curry's the star of the show on Birds. I love when he goes, fuck a Pop-Tart, we got toasters for real. Fucking bars. Bars, bars, bars. I'm also a big fan of the single Ricky, and the chorus skillfully contrasts the conflicting advice that his mother and father gave him around the subjects of women and friends. Denzel Curry's got some really clever bars on here. At one point he interpolates Fat Pat. On another verse he reinterpolates the chorus from his old track, Parents. This track came out on his Nostalgia 64 album, so this is like old school Denzel Curry. And it works well because on this track, Denzel Curry just talks about the effect that his father had on him. And it's a positive song, it's really engaging. And we don't really get that many songs about dads. Well, positive songs anyway. Loads of tracks about mums in hip hop. So it's good to hear a shout out to the dads every now and then. Ricky's got a great beat, thumping bass, and is a really compelling part of the album. The album starts with the track Zoo, again, thumping bass, and we get the obligatory Dragon Ball Z references from Denzel Curry, how he's got an M on his belt like Majin Buu. Pretty clever. And throughout this album, Denzel Curry's got great energy, great verses. Overall, Zoo as an album is lighter than Taboo. It makes it more fun, it's an easier album to listen to, but it lacks the emotional substance. We've got tracks like Shake 88, which is a bit like mindless strip club music. And on other tracks, Denzel Curry's talking about how he's going to steal your girlfriend. You know, the usual rap cliches that he mainly avoided throughout Taboo. But despite this album lacking some of the emotional intensity of Taboo, I like tracks like Carolmart, where Denzel Curry's talking about where he's from. It's got a great hook that merges into the track after a spoken word intro. And we just hear about where Denzel's from, we hear about his influences growing up in Carol City. The beat is dark, fast paced, and Denzel Curry's got great energy on here. He also chucks in a Mortal Kombat reference, because if there's one thing Denzel Curry likes talking about just as much as Dragon Ball Z, it's Mortal Kombat. And the closer, PAT, is a great throwback to Denzel Curry's lo-fi origins. It just feels like a throwback to Denzel Curry's early solo career when he just left Raider Clan, and his voice is suitably harsh, just like those early days, and it comes straight after the Black Clan 66.6 skit, which grounds PAT in this old school Denzel Curry style. Overall, Zoo is a good album. It's fun, it's full of bangers, full of energy, and at half an hour, it doesn't overstay its welcome. This project's good fun, but if you're looking for something with a bit more emotional depth, I would highly recommend going back to Denzel Curry's Taboo album. But for what it is, Zoo is a good project, it's a lot of fun, you can just put it on for half an hour and just enjoy yourself. So for me, Denzel Curry, Zoo, is worthy of 7 out of 10.